Well, I think most people take themselves too seriously. So in business in general, I don't think people have particularly good sense of humor. I think it's better to go through life trying to have fun. And so I would encourage everybody to not take themselves too seriously, because it helps us all unlock creativity and openness and a window into the possible. I think we all tend to be afraid of the unknown and trying new things. And so comedy and humor is being able to laugh at yourself, including when you fail and screw up.
Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hirsch Redfin.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
In the hot seat today on Yes Brand is Jason Shafton. Jason's a 20-year veteran in growth. I actually think I'm a 57-year-old veteran in growth, but I'm not an expert in the kind of growth that he is. He built billion-dollar businesses at Google, Paramount, DaVita. He scaled startups like Headspace, one of my favorite apps, Soothe, and Heal, acquired by Humana. At Google, he scaled the Google Ads platform and launched Google Music and Google Play. He also spent time leading marketing at Comedy Central, which we will talk a little bit about, where he launched new seasons of South Park and The Daily Show, as well as new franchises, Broad City, Drunk History, and Inside Amy Schumer. And he now has a consultancy called Winston Francois and hosts the podcast Frank Growth. And welcome to Yes Brand, Jason.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here.
It's great to have you. Let's start with the elephant in the room, Comedy Central. We've talked a little bit about it off air. Well, first of all, I don't think that's fair. That's indulging me because I'm so interested in it. Give the audience a little bit of background on you and how you actually came to specialize in growth, and then we'll have some fun with the whole comedy background stuff.
Great. You did a nice job summarizing my background, so I won't belabor it. But yeah, after working many years,
don't tarnish it. Don't besmirch the wonderful introduction.
I learned a ton at Google, and then spent time, like you mentioned, at Comedy Central. Got a chance to try my hand starting a business at Heal, and then led a couple other larger startups at Soothe and Headspace. And what I learned from all those experiences is, marketing growth essentially boils down to what are you selling, who is your customer, and why should they care? And when it comes to brands, that last part's especially important. Why should somebody care about your brand? The brand is how you make somebody feel, and then the product has to deliver on that feeling. So a big part of what I do is help companies figure out the stories they need to tell about their products and services to deliver on a brand promise and build a really big and sustainable long-term business. Been really fortunate in my career to work with super smart people at Google and all these amazing startups and other companies, and learn from them and try to bring all those learnings into the companies that I come and help now.
So now that you have kind of, it's interesting when you're in the thick of growing businesses and growing divisions and so forth, and when you're consulting or helping other companies do it. What's different about that for you now that you're not necessarily staked in the outcome?
I think it's interesting. Companies treat employees and consultants very differently. So employees, are hired often and given a job description and expectations of this is what you're going to do, this is what we need you to help with. And I find that a lot of times they're not given the benefit of the doubt. They're immediately under a microscope. Well, are you delivering? What's happening? Are you doing the thing you said you were going to do? Did we hire the right person? I don't know. A little bit of hand wringing and worries from management, the leadership. Whereas a consultant is often, brought in by an investor or a referral, and comes into the business given the benefit of the doubt and assuming, you're a consultant, you do this for a living, you must know what you're doing, and we're going to listen to your advice and kind of follow your guidance. I don't think that's very fair to employees, and I've worked with plenty of consultants who don't know what they're doing. And my job is to come in and be a true partner to a business and understand the challenges that they're facing, identify the gaps in the team, the skills that they do have on board, and help them come up with the right strategy to grow the business and take full advantage of the team they have in place, and then help augment that with additional resources and things that they need to kind of achieve their goals.
Yeah, and every organization's goals are different. Every organization has different priorities, and in terms of the businesses you've worked for and what they've sought to achieve, what have been some highlights in terms of things that really meant a lot to you to help them reach those goals?
Well, I can tell you, being a, I don't know, 26-year-old kid in a warehouse in LA, pushing the button to turn on the Google Music website as Maroon 5 and Busta Rhymes are playing downstairs at our Google Music launch party. It was a pretty wild experience. That was definitely a highlight for me, and I felt like I had no business doing what I was doing, but was grateful and just felt lucky to be there. And fast forward to co-founding a doctor house call app called Heal, and being a team of just a few people in a tiny little room in Santa Monica, trying to figure out how to get families on the west side of LA to book a doctor house call. And when those first visits kind of came in and popped up on the screen that, hey, someone's using this app that we just built, also a pretty wild feeling to then raising tens of millions of dollars to scale that business all over the country.
Yeah. And now with Winston Francois, now a lot of people may think that's a very elegant name and a very fancy name, but as I understand, and this may just be a rumor, there was a rumor that the company is named after your dogs, but you can tell us the actual fact. What is the story?
I can confirm the rumors are true. The company is named after my dogs, Winston, and his birth name is Francois, but we call him Frank most days. And my 4-year-old just yells at him when he's trying to eat the food she has in her hand.
What kind of dogs are they?
They're French bulldogs, of course. So Francois is a Frenchie.
Of course. And is that where the Frank growth comes from
Exactly.
as well?
Yeah. So it's a double entendre. We speak truth on the podcast.
Yeah.
So the Frank growth is all about speaking of the truth and saying the quiet part out loud.
Well, tell a little bit about the podcast, and I urge my listeners and viewers to check it out, but give them a little heads up what they're gonna get over there.
Frank Growth is a podcast about growing businesses, of being an entrepreneur, and also building a life that you can be proud of. It features my wife and I as co-hosts, and then we have on entrepreneurs, founders, people that are building exciting companies, and their partner. And you get a little bit of a peek into their life and how they do it. And we talk about some of the things that people don't talk about. Everything from pregnancy loss to running out of money and starting over, to the highest highs of launching a business successfully and then selling it and making a ton of money. So it's a really interesting and fun way to explore the nuances of entrepreneurship and life.
And that's one of the areas of common interest, I guess, or common sensibility that you and I share, is that it's not so much about work-life balance as it is that a full life involves your passions, your work, your relationships, your family, and so it all kind of intersects. And at what point have you reached a point in life and work where where you felt one or the other was pulling you in a different direction, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the last time I felt that profoundly was when I was working at Headspace and my wife found out she was pregnant with our first, who's now 4, and in no uncertain terms said, if you would like to be the father of this child, then you will need to not work, 100-hour weeks at a startup. You will actually need to come home and be home sometimes. So that was an
Yeah.
important realization moment that I needed to shift my priorities in preparation for being a dad.
Yeah, that's a big turning point, and it is, it is true that life competes with work, but it's also interwoven in such a way that I feel, there sometimes isn't a line. The line is in many ways interesting with your podcast. You have partners in life who are partners in business. And that is like, I think I told you this before. It's like that is kind of mind blowing to me. I don't know that I could do that or that my wife would have any interest in doing that. And we've had careers that have intersected in some ways. Like she was a documentary filmmaker for a long time. I have a lot of clients that are produced documentaries and are in documentaries, and I had handled public relations for them. But the work itself, like actually working together, never really happened. We collaborated, or I helped out on projects that she had and vice versa, but never professionally where it was like, okay, I'm going to do this. We're going to do this, produce this together, or, I'm going to handle the PR or exposure for this. How does it kind of work?
Yeah. So in the case of my wife and I, she actually came and worked with me at my first startup Heal for a little bit, and that was hard. And now I lead Winston Francois and run the business. She has a job at a big company and kind of does that as her day job. And really, it's when we have that maybe hour before we go to sleep every night, we get to talk about things going on in our lives. We
Right.
have 2 kids now, and that's where we chat about the business and what's going on. And she often will have the final say in big important decisions. And it is hard. Some people can work together, others cannot do it. I'm fortunate that I really admire my wife. I think she has a ton of complementary skills to me. I often refer to her as the creative, the ideas woman, and I'm the guy who can get things done. I'm process oriented and execution focused and kind of deliver the results.
Well, that's an enviable set of skills, no matter what the company. But let's shift now to Comedy Central, the world of comedy television and comedy content. Probably needs someone who can get stuff done, more desperately than a lot of other businesses. People would think, oh, it's a creative atmosphere, it's a creative pursuit. How did you end up there, and what was your tenure there like?
Yeah, I had a buddy who at the time, this is pre-Paramount, and it was Viacom. I had a buddy who worked at Viacom and said, you should come check this out. There's an interesting role open, and was able to get the gig leading marketing at Comedy Central. And the company was very different than Google, where I was coming from, which was a extremely kind of meritocracy, data driven culture. Made the best ideas win, and focused on measurable results.
Yeah, a
And
lot of three-letter words, KPI,
yeah,
ROI, a lot.
lots of acronyms for sure.
Right.
And then Comedy Central was old media company, right? So big personalities, big egos, lots of hierarchy, and it was more about who you knew. And I was the new guy, and I was a young guy, young vice president at the time. Is definitely a lot of things I could have done better. My maybe favorite story to tell from that time was being there, and on my 91st day, one of the executive coaches came into my office and said, hey, here's this book I want you to read. And it was called The First 90 Days. So I think we missed the window on that. But what I learned from that is, there's something to be said for building a cult of personality. all the greatest brands at Comedy Central, all the great storytellers and comedians were, incredibly interesting, and often unusual characters, but they built that personality, and then the folks inside of the organization that were telling stories about them and helping build their brands and their franchises also had a lot of charisma, or riz as the kids are saying these days.
A lot of
And I think
riz.
that, yeah, I think that was a big part of it, is figuring out how to network my way through a big media company and get things done.
When we kid around about, like, slang and all that stuff, but how, I mean, you were still young enough perhaps to feel connected to a younger audience, not like you were at Nickelodeon, but still, it seems like we kind of very quickly age out of understanding young audiences. Like, at 26, what's the youngest viewer that you feel you really connected to?
Yeah, I joined Comedy Central. I think I was about 29,
Nine,
and
right?
I
You were
think,
26 at Google.
yeah, I mean, I think I still am a 14-year-old boy at heart, and so I certainly could relate to the demographic of young guys. The primary audience of Comedy Central at that time, and I think still is, really like 25 to 34-year-old males. I think it's aged up a bit now, but it was really about understanding people my age, and so I think that part I was comfortable with, and then the kind of key demo for all TV, just based on advertising revenue, I think is the 18 to 49 males and females. That's who you want to get, because those are the people that have disposable income and jobs and are going to go buy things when they see ads on TV. So it was all about getting those folks to tune in. And, I learned a lot about traditional advertising in the job, reaching demographics through TV, radio, print, out of home. Whereas at Google, I was doing a bunch of campaigns online. And that was really the channel.
Yeah. And what was your, at the time, what was your familiarity with comedy and comedy programming?
So I was a theater choir band geek in high school, and enjoyed, improv and acting, and fancied myself funny. But the key to my understanding how comedy worked, and being successful at Comedy Central, was I signed up for Upright Citizens Brigade, the theater, founded by Amy Poehler, and that group in New York. So when you have Yes Brand, as your company and your brand behind you,
Right.
yes, and I learned yes and when living in New York and working at Comedy Central, and took the full 100 level through 400 level 4 classes of UCB improv school, and learned how to bring that into my professional world as well. And saying yes and to ideas, and being open and riffing off of your peers and your partners in creativity is the way to come up with cool new ideas.
Yeah. And, speaking of collaborating and improvising, did you find at Comedy Central, and do you find now with your own clientele, that people actually in business have a good sense of humor? And do people in comedy have a better sense of humor, in the executive ranks, have a better sense of humor than people, let's say, in finance?
Well, I think most people take themselves too seriously. So in business in general, I don't think people have particularly good sense of humor. I think it's better to go through life trying to have fun. And so I would encourage everybody to not take themselves too seriously, because it helps us all unlock creativity and openness, and a window into the possible. I think we all tend to be afraid of the unknown and trying new things. And so comedy and humor is being able to laugh at yourself, including when you fail and screw up. And I think, yeah, people at Comedy Central at all levels of the organization were funnier people just in general, and had, a great sense of humor, and could laugh at just about anything. So I think that really is it's about yes anding life, and not taking yourself too seriously in business.
Yeah. And with Winston Francois, which already implies in the name, a bit of a sense of humor and whimsy. How are you getting the company name and the company's offerings out there, what is your mode of choice for attracting the clientele that you're after?
Well, I'm here, so I'm excited to
Right.
meet anybody who listens or watches Yes Brand. And
So aside from the stroke of good fortune of just happening upon landing upon one of the top rated podcasts, that's great. But as I should have warned you before even coming on, it's not the Tonight Show. It's not what used to,
you're
the
not Jimmy Fallon?
no,
I was
no,
told
no.
you're
I
Jimmy
mean,
Fallon.
it's not. No, neither one of us is Jimmy Fallon. I think, but I'm not Johnny Carson either. Where you come on now, you go on Jimmy Fallon. It's like the next night you have to go on Colbert. It's not going to really. It's not going to change your life.
Yeah.
But used to be you get that one shot and you're golden after that.
Yep.
If you get your time on the Tonight Show, you're golden. Now there's got to be other things. So anyway, I just wanted to temper your expectations, Jason, in terms of the calls you're going to get. You'll wake up tomorrow, you'll still be Jason Shafton. You're not
I
gonna.
hope so.
People are not gonna be freaking out over you any more than they ordinarily do. But yeah, I think you'll be a different person. I think you'll be changed. I think.
I feel changed already. The ways that
Yeah.
we share our stories predominantly with helping companies grow and those companies telling other people about us and what we've done for them. So referrals is the name of the game. And then we're building an audience with our Frank Growth podcast. I'm putting myself out there in these conversations, and we're doing outreach across channels that we would find other companies, founders, investors who could use our help. So things like LinkedIn and even doing some advertising and kind of spreading the word about the Winston Francois growth machine.
and let's close it out then with some thoughts about growth and about growth and goals. I'm not sure how big. I think a lot of people I talk to are not sure exactly how big should their company get. What does success mean? Maybe share a little bit of your hard-won wisdom about that.
Not sure about wisdom, but I'll tell you what I think about growth. So if you want to have that 1 in a million outcome, 1 in several thousand outcome of going public or selling to a big public company, then take venture capital and push really hard and build a really cool, exciting technology business and basically sign up for the next 7 to 10 years of tremendous amount of pain and suffering for the unlikely scenario of a big windfall exit. Those are really hard odds and long odds. For people that are interested in having a very sustainable lifestyle business, think of a problem that isn't being solved well by somebody else out there and solve it better. Talk to 100 people about your solution to that problem and get them to tell you what they think. Make it great, make it sticky, make people give a shit. And get those first 100 people to sign up and try your thing and charge a reasonable price for your product and build a nice comfortable lifestyle business that you can run until you don't want to anymore. And then there's all the flavors of outcomes in between, selling a company to another slightly bigger company or selling a company to private equity or other investor groups. But entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. There's going to be the highest highs and then super low lows. And I know lots of people who have lost everything and decided to go do it again. So you have to have a really, really high tolerance for pain, suffering, and risk to go be an entrepreneur, and just an absurd amount of optimism about the way that you believe the world could be, because entrepreneurship and new ideas and starting businesses is all about a vision of the future that doesn't exist today and creating that future and then asking people to come along on that journey with you, which is really hard but really fun if you can pull it off.
Alright.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and?
it worked for you,
Yes, then?
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.